Hey guys, just want to make sure you all can hear me okay. Um, I'm going to check to see if everything, I did some adjustments, so work with me here. Um, so now it's at the point where you should be able to hear me. There shouldn't be any echo. Um, at the same time, we should have nice feed coming through. So I think we're pretty good to go. Let me know in the chat if there are any issues on being able to either hear me or see me. So give me a quick thumbs up or a check. Okay, Ahmed says I'm good to go. I'll give it a couple more minutes. Right now we only have 6 people in the live stream so far, and this is a pretty good live stream. So I'm very pleased. Sound overlapping, delay. There's an echo. Okay. Satanic. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to pull this up, make some quick adjustments. What about now? Okay, all is fine. Okay. Did my quick adjustment. All right, today, guys, we're going to, like I said, this is going to be a pretty good, webinar because we're going to go over general stats. We're going to go through LPC stats. We're going to go through LGS stats, and then after that, we're going to walk through some events that are happening in the space and some events happening here in particular. Um, so here we go. In the general crypto market, guys, we had some action that happened pretty much on Monday that really I think represents a fundamental shift in some in the market structure. Some people may argue against it, but this is my opinion. A fundamental shift in the market structure, moving from a bear phase to an accumulation phase. So if looking at some of the basics of technical charting analysis, going from peak to peak, if you guys have taken a look at some of the trends of Bitcoin and its price action since it's been listed on a variety of different markets, typically you would look from one bull peak to another bull peak. You analyze that, and you'd analyze that action from the pull back from that peak to the accumulation phase back up to the next peak. And that next peak is usually higher than the previous one by a factor of 5 to 10. There's some evidence out there based on the Bitcoin runs. It's anywhere from 5 to 10x increase. But we can look at that. I'll show that in the next video. But for the most part, it looks as if now we are coming from the top of that bull run down to an accumulation phase. And over the next couple weeks or so, we should begin to see some clear evidence of whether or not we're in an accumulation phase, whether or not we're going to continue to trend downward with BTC and the overall market, or is the case we're in accumulation, preparing to ramp up for the next bull run. But I'm pretty optimistic. The evidence to me seems like we're clearly in a phase where it's accumulation. It's a great time to be in the market. It's a lot of things that are progressing in the space, and we'll talk about some of that over through this webinar today. I'll try to keep it short, but if we run a little long, about 30 minutes, that may be fine. But looking at Bitcoin, at the end, it's around $6,500. Looking at the global charts in terms of what's happening overall, looking at all the currency, we have a market cap of about 211 million. And if we were to go back here, this was the peak of the last bull run, which was somewhere around December 2013. And it went on a bear phase till around May 15th. Then it started on another accumulation, the end of the bear phase, then went to accumulation, and then subsequently went into a bull run here. So from this peak, December, roughly January, no, December of 2017, January 2018, all the way back to here, to this peak. You're looking at really sometime in December 2013 when that peak happened. We had a nice bull run from horn to horn. But yet it's the case now, if you look at BTC, it's on a downward trend, and it's slowly decelerating and flattening. But if you pull into a 3-month time frame, you begin to see that our lowest low where we've been in this market, our lowest low was sometime back in September-ish. Even when you look at Bitcoin, that's the same thing is happening there for the most part. But looking at the overall industry, the lowest low that we've had has been in September. That's well over a month. September the 12th. The day is October the 17th. So well over a month ago, we've had somewhat higher highs. Excuse me. We've had higher lows here, 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 here. We had a dip, and then we had um, a breakout. Well, some people would attribute that to some of the FUD that was happening on Bitfinex, FUD associated with a USD tether, and it caused a spike and it caused the entire market to move. And it's relatively low volume, but at the same time, it's market movement. But some people dismiss that candle. If you really drill down into it and look at that candle, it was a candle that had a huge wick on it, but at the same time it maintained after that slight pullback of the wick on that daily candle. It went relatively flat and it continued on where it's beginning to make, if some of you know about the technical charting, it's making now a bull flag, where it moves up and then it moves slightly downwards, and then you can draw it, and then it's the case that the evidence would suggest in the next few days there's going to be a breakout in the general market. But that I seem somewhat optimistic both about Bitcoin and the general market in terms of its movement. But that's my view at the point. Some people may have a different opinion, but I'm somewhat optimistic. The bulls, the bears at the point. Some people are still looking to short. There's some evidence of shorting taking of people preparing for a short, but right now it's in a grayish area. Not really strong on bulls, not really strong on bears, but it's the case. We need to have higher highs. So when you're looking at the price action in the cryptocurrency market in general, we've had higher lows where the lows have been higher over the past month in terms of the pullbacks. But then at the same time, we still had somewhat consistently lower highs, which is more bearish. But then it's the case here, if we have a breakout, we would be in a position where there's evidence to suggest that we're moving into an accumulation phase, which is right before we have a bull run. But I'll keep you guys updated as things happen in the space, and that's why we do the general market overview. I would encourage you all, if you can, get a trading view account. And with the trading view account, you can begin to look at price action, some technical analysis, not only on Bitcoin, but other cryptocurrencies, and begin just understand the news in the space and see how you're oriented. But I believe, once again, we are in a great time, both in terms of what's happening. It's no longer about speculation. It's about real world projects being built and advances being made in Bitcoin, Litecoin, Lightning Network, Ethereum, a few other platforms as well, such as Blocknet, and our projects. When you look at LitePayCoin and the Logis coin as well, and then I'll give you some updates after we go through some of the summary statistics on BT, on LGS and LPC. Excuse me. Right now, let me see if they're just any general comments. Okay, looks like we don't have aren't any general questions here. I have my sign here moving up. So we'll move into the projects around. We're focused on Logis coin. Right now, price action is $7.71 in terms of its Nominal coin price, it's down 2.17% from yesterday. $2 million in volume, about 4 million in its overall market cap, 653% ROI with 368 masternodes at a value of $7,710 each. So it's still in a pretty solid position. Had a pullback, but $139 per day. And a number that I'm very pleased to see, and this is something that I was encouraging everyone to see if we can get above those numbers, is we're at 71% in terms of coins locked up. So it's at the point we are creating more and more scarcity by locking up those coins in masternodes. And I think that's going to be beneficial once we start selling the masternodes to our logistic or supply chain clients who would like to have masternodes. So it's at the point anyone who owns a masternode will have the ability to have access to the tracking and the logistics applications in their own particular space, particularly as it relates to a supply chain company or a company in a specific industry that wants to manage its own supply chain. We will have masternodes in those industries or in those companies, and they will be able to monitor their action as well. So everyone who owns a masternode will have the ability to have access to those applications. The same thing as well when we talk about Logis Coin, excuse me, not Logis Coin, but LPC. Moving into LPC, we're still in the top 20, but the price action is down. Once again, overall, it's a bear market. When we look at, let me see, where are we here? Am I clicking on the right one? No, this is the wrong one. Excuse me, guys. LightPay coin here. Right now, it's at 81 cents per LPC. If I can find this thing one more time. Down 5%, almost $100,000 in daily volume, 2.7 million in terms of overall market cap, 300% roughly in its ROI. 2,361, a large number of masternodes valued at roughly $811 per masternode. And this is something I'd like to give you guys insight to. When we have the point of sale device, everyone who owns a masternode will have access to a point of sale device. So it will be something that will be authenticated through your masternodes, like for instance, when you're establishing an account at PayPal for the first time. You have your public key, you send your public, you register for your masternode, you register for your point of sale device, and then a little small amount of funds will be sent to that address, and then you authenticate with that amount, and then you will have access to the interface to the desktop version and mobile version of the point of sale device. But just want to be able to mention it now. Everyone who has a masternode, because we're going through that planning phase and of the authentication and going through the user stories, everyone who has a masternode will have a point of sale device function, will have that functionality available. At this point, similar to Logis Coin and where we were earlier in terms of the percentage of coins locked up, we're at 70%. That was the target that we set out a couple months back on in having our masternodes in terms of number of coins locked up. $811.12 BTC in terms of its worth. But right now, the price has stabilized and flattened out, consistent with the overall market in terms of how it has stopped that downward trend and now it's stabilized and now is in a position where it's in an accumulation phase. So that's something I would recommend all of you at this point. Just begin to accumulate. We'll see it over the next couple of weeks. How it really pans out. I don't think it's going to the downside. That's just my opinion. But there's a lot of evidence that's suggesting that we're getting ready to. It's flattened out pretty much as much as it could possibly can when you look at LPC. But we could possibly go lower. But at the same time, there's a lot of good news in the pipe. And I'll tell you now, and it's no longer speculation. There are things that we're moving on in this space, and I feel really excited. You might have been hearing some of the moderators talk about it, and some of the members of the team talk about it as well. Um, but we're in a position where we're keeping pretty much tight lipped. So let me take pause for a second to see if there are any questions. Um, Questions that we have now. I'm looking at my other screen, so managing this process. Other members, sessions, not anymore. Member plans for LPC to get listed on the major exchange such as Binance, Poloniex, KuCoin. Current exchanges are great, but it'd be nice to see more quality and less quantity of exchanges. That's from Crypto Soldier. Crypto Soldier, yes, we are actively engage in negotiations to list on higher quality exchanges. Um, Now top 50 and up. With Binance, it's a little expensive to be able to list on Binance. With KuCoin, we did put in our application. What they told us is to continue to work on our roadmap, makes a little bit more progress and recontact. So it seemed like it was not necessarily outright rejection, but more so as, hey, you guys are a little early for us. So I take that for what it is, and we're less than 6 months. We're less than 6 months old. We have some great partnerships in place, great partnerships in the works that we'll be talking about. We're doing some active development. Having partnerships not only with, say, the top 10, say, charities in all of the world in the Salvation Army, and we're the first to actually launch a masternode for the number 4 charity in the world in the Salvation Army, which is actually doing work in Greece. We also have a partnership with the largest R&D university in the United States, the organization that was the R&D arm for NASA and responsible for putting a man on the moon, helping us to do work in building out our infrastructure, doing research, development, and commercialization. And then there are a couple other organizations with our partnership as well with Lumina Datamatics in helping us to push forward in the content technology space and building out the human capital management systems with our wallets embedded, and beginning to think of innovative ways in which to deploy masternodes within their organization as well, in addition to them reaching out to their clients who have interest in blockchain-based technology and various ways of making payments internationally. So let me see. That was the first question. KuCoin, just explained that earlier. Yes, we're pushing forward. KuCoin in October was mentioned in the article about LGS. Was that a mistake? And that was something that we were pushing on. I think that's Powell. I'm gonna massacre your name, Podgowski. Um, I apologize for messing up your name, but for the most part, it's the same thing where we're young projects. Some of these top exchanges, we're being told for the most part that we're not being accepted because of not being able to make progress on our roadmap. Like I said, and that was the case, definitely the case with KuCoin, also with CoinX. Coinex.io, which was another top 50 exchange. We're just young. We're just getting out, just launching both projects, both less than 6 months old. So just give us a little bit more time. We're making progress in terms of our development, the relationships that we have in place, and we'll get there eventually. But right now, we want to get the fundamentals in place in terms of our organization. Definitely being able to build out more, having more partnerships who can do outreach for us, who have a very large brand, and then begin to do some of that work for us. So here we go. Now that we've covered the general stats on the crypto market, which once again, I am of the opinion that we are entering into accumulation phase and we're moving out of the bear phase. The next week or so, the next week, 2 weeks will give us clarity on whether or not we're going to continue on a downtrend, or it's the case we're flattening out, getting ready to move up on a bull run. As it relates to both LPC and LGS, we do see some pullback and flattening out of the trend, particularly as it relates to LPC. But with the fundamentals that we're engaging in, building out our product, making more progress, moving in on our roadmap, and accomplishing more and more things. It's a great day. There are some things that I know and I cannot disclose, but I'll begin to move into that now. General market, just general news. Right now, Fidelity just made it easier for hedge funds and other pros to invest in cryptocurrency. This is general news around cryptocurrency. Fidelity is one of the largest players in the game. You're talking about 7 trillion in assets being traded on their platforms. Now they've started a separate company to begin to trade in cryptocurrency, primarily targeted at this point towards institutions. You're talking about those hedge funds, those family offices that are looking to move into the space. I think that's great from an infrastructure perspective because you need these solutions such as custody. Right now, what most of you don't know, but what I am familiar with in this space is that there are hedge funds, there are small family offices that are doing OTC. They're buying Bitcoin OTC. You're talking about hundreds and thousands of Bitcoins over the counter, picking up the phone, making a call, and then you have some very large BTC holders that these brokers are having interactions with, and they're engaging in those transactions. You're not seeing it these large purchases of Bitcoin on the exchanges because they handle it over the counter, negotiating the price negotiated, done. There's a transfer to escrow or the broker, and the broker makes fulfills the transactions, takes the commission, and it's they're still doing it old school, guys, like getting on the telephone and they're talking to somebody. I don't hedge in some of these family offices. I don't, and from what I'm hearing from the some of these family offices, managers of the family offices, they don't feel comfortable trading on an exchange like a Binance or a KuCoin or Cryptopia because why? They just can't. They want to be able to pick up the phone and call somebody if something happening. Just imagine a hedge fund or a large institution or even a family office trading on CryptoBridge or Escodex, and they're sending BTC trying to make a large purchase for LPC. And I'll tell you now, I have received phone calls for LPC and LGS to make $1 million transactions over the phone. I'm in a position now that these things are happening. I'm having conversations. People not only in the United States, but in France as well, in the UK, phone calls, having discussions on how we can do OTC transactions. That's what's happening. If it's happening to LPC, LGS, it's also happening, and there is strong, even institutions have already come out doing over-the-counter transactions with Bitcoin because it's happening there. It's happening with us. The institutions let you know they're in. Even with the case with Fidelity mentioning that they're making it easier for the institutions and hedge funds to get into the space, I think that's great for the fundamentals. I see this as being a wonderful opportunity to be in the space as retail investors because we're here before they're here. And typically, when you see introductions of technology, it's usually the large institutions who get access to the technology and new markets first, and then they'll push it down to the retailers. And by that time, all of the fortunes have been made, and we're getting more like the scraps. But we're here first. Some of the retail investors, some of the initial set of developers, the early adopters were here first. So I'm gonna take a quick pause and just see what questions we have there. Um, right now, I'm just gonna scroll up and down here. No more questions on that. Okay, so I'll move into some of the work in our space in particular and give a summary of what happened at the Future Blockchain Conference. It was a great conference. I had an opportunity to meet with a lot of different speakers from across the world, individuals who were in, say, at Thomson Reuters. John West knew him in the space. They've developed some very cool tech, blockchain-based tech. in the space for lawyers and being able to say calculate taxes for institutions or value-added tax applications. Also, the mayor came and spoke. We did some work as well. Felipe, founder of Crypto Mondias, he wants to interview us, so we're going to have some interactions with him. He's one of the large players in cryptocurrency in Central and South America. I'm sending information over to him because as you know, I'm leaving tomorrow for the blockchain smart summit, which is in Bucaramanga, Colombia, which is a few miles from the border of Venezuela. So it's the case he's making an announcement as well in terms of us being able to do work there. Um, Dean Jones with IBM had some interactions with him as well, and a variety of other individuals in the space. As you see, Joseph Aquintalayo from URXIO, David Hirsch, a contact that we had from the SEC a while back. At the same time, um, us sponsoring the tournament, the Dota 2 tournament, which is the first tournament, from my understanding, the Dota 2 tournament is the first tournament in my understanding to actually have results stored on blockchain. I took a few pictures and I posted them to Twitter. I don't know how many of you actually tuned in, but here we go. It was a nice conference. It was a nice little setup. Microsoft actually sponsored the computers coming in. We sponsored aspects around the lunch and paying some of the folks to do some of the shoutcasting or announcing or commentating, which they're called shoutcasters, but it was a weird thing. But for the most part, it was a great interaction. Had the chance to meet some of the top players in the area. Some teams came down from University of Texas. You had some from UNT. You had some gamers. Actually, the ones who won the tournament were gamers from the area who never played with each other, but yet they got together at the last minute. They came and they won, but yet the team that won, there were players from that team that competed against UT Austin's team and lost to them in a tournament a while back. So we're going to get more involved in sponsoring some of this tournament because understanding the mindset of gamers, they're the first to adopt as games are constantly changing. They also have like economies within games, and I think to the degree that we can get a relationship with a gaming company and begin to embed LPC or LGS as a currency within a game and be able to use that currency outside of the game as well, we're going to be able to have a much larger adoption rate within the gaming space. So we're also sponsoring another, I think, StarCraft 2 tournament in, I think, with LGS in Poland. So it's good to see that we're pushing in the space. We've made history. This tournament, the results are actually stored on blockchain, which is, like I said, I think it's the first application that actually was able to place results of a tournament, particularly Dota 2, on blockchain. So let me see. I'll take a quick pause to see if we have any other questions there. I'd like to make a donation to Salvation Army Greece, but how do we know that account people are legit? Anyone could set up a Twitter profile like that. Has that been verified? Yes. It has been verified. The relationship that we have with the Salvation Army, there is a major Jean, I think it's Jean Baptiste. I'm trying to get his full name in place. Let's do this. I can look on my Twitter account, and we've had some interactions. Major. Let's do this. You guys are going to actually see some of my messages to folks. Let's see. John Ward Cycle. John. I've had some interactions with him. Now you guys are looking through all the interactions that we've had so far. He's a major who actually has had a lot of interactions within the a lot of interactions with LPC, but also a lot of interactions with the Salvation Army. At the same time, you can go to Salvation Army Greece. You can go to the Salvation Army International website, navigate to Salvation Army Greece, and then you'll see our links. Let's do this. Let's say as a Salvation Army International, and this is what we call evidence, converging evidence. So we'll look for, where is this, international, all of the branches. We're looking at Salvation. We're looking for Salvation Army Greece. Salvation Army Greece. And guys, just to let you know, we have launched the first masternode in one of the top 4 organizations. One of the top 4 organizations in the world in terms of its being a charity. Let me see. Greece offers assistance. Let's see if we can go straight to Salvation Army GR. Yeah, Salvation Army Greece. I was seeing if I can directly navigate from Salvation Army Greece to this location. So if you go to the Salvation Army Greece's website and give your donation, you would click, and they take PayPal, bank deposit, for an LPC. So we've donated Masternode shares here. So you can see this link right here. Now, I'm kind of upset 4 is there, but we don't have our logo. So we need to have our logo here. But from what I understand, we are the first to actually have a full Masternode that's been launched on this site. So if you want to donate, it's LPC. Here's the address. And then you could send to that address. So I get updates periodically from the major with whom I am in interaction. And I get those updates as you all donate. And the great thing about blockchain-based technology, you can see where the money is, or you can see where your donation has gone. So when I gave the transaction, I was easily able to look on the blockchain to see where it had been, to whom it had been sent. At the same time, where those funds had been transferred to other wallets as well. For instance, when a lot of funds have been accumulated to build the set of shares, and then as more and more donations were made to build the first masternode, you can see how those funds were combined to actually lock those funds up in a masternode as well. So that's just the beginning phase. And I think it's smart for the major to start this process, because eventually, as they accumulate more and more nodes during this accumulation phase, and when the bull run finally happens, you're going to see an immediate transformation once there's a lift in the nominal price of LPC and the overall masternode worth in terms of the funds that they're able to subsequently take and distribute. Okay. And that's all that I have on that as it relates to donating to Greece. So I encourage you to make the donations. So now we're going to look back at the summary on the blockchain-based, the future blockchain conference. We met a lot of people who were interested in our project and explaining in our talk. Actually, I was on 2 talks. One panel I was on dealt with platforms. So you had people talking about Ethereum. You had people talking about Neo. So, but it was the case because we've already integrated with BlockNet. I was the representative talking about aspects of the BlockNet as it relates particularly to LPC LGS. If we have any developers who are here, who are listening to the webinar, and you would like to develop on BlockNet, you would like to create dApps or decentralized applications, just to let you know, the framework in which how BlockNet has been developed, it's the case that they're looking to just remove all of the in-depth programming that you would need to be able to create a dApp. And their essential model is to create a token ecosystem, where the token ecosystem there, it's already embedded, where cross-chain atomic swaps can take place easily without you having to really understand the dynamics of programming. But if you're familiar with some of the open standards that we have out now, particularly JSON, so JavaScript object notation, which is a standard language that's used in API to communicate information from different systems that may have totally different infrastructures, but we are on the same standard and using JSON to communicate. If you know a language as simple as JSON, you could begin building a dApp on BlockNet. Cross-chain atomic swaps, learn the specific API, and you can swap Logis coin for LightPay coin for Bitcoin, or any other currency that's on BlockNet. At this point, I believe there are over 100 currencies that are on BlockNet. We have to start building applications. For instance, you talk about other projects. Tron as a platform, they've recently built out a game on their platform. With Ethereum, there are hundreds and hundreds of ICO-based projects in addition to other um, token projects on the Ethereum platform, which is the most popular one at this point. But I do believe in a masternode-based platform such as BlockNet and how we are already integrated. Perhaps we may explore other platforms at a later time if we're compatible with them. But it's the case right now. We're on BlockNet. If you all have experience in developing on BlockNet, please, or experiencing developing using APIs and JSON, please, I would encourage you to start developing some applications. On that note, in terms of developing applications, we have someone from the community who created an organization called NodeVault. With NodeVault, NodeVault is a service that allows you to monitor your masternodes. It allows you to monitor your LPC and your LGS. And this is actually on Apple Store. They've created one for Apple. They've also created one for, created application for the App Store and application for Google Play. And just scrolling through some of the screenshots, and I've already downloaded the app on my phone, and I'm monitoring some of the masternodes that I have. So as you can see right now, you see LightPay coin, you see Logis coin. Right now it shows Logis coin as being voting, but I was being in the voting phase. But yet it's the point I was told after I did a post to Twitter that because we're already on Apollon Masternode service, we're going to be automatically integrated into LGS is going to be automatically integrated as well. And you can see our partner as well, Tritium, that's already on the mobile app. So at this point, all you have to do is download the app from the App Store or from Google Play. You'll put in the address of you can either use your public key or the IP address, and then you'll be able to monitor each of the masternodes that you have. It will tell whether or not it's on, it's actually enabled and integrated into the network, or it's not integrated into the network, and it'll give you a calculation of the accumulations each day. So that's a nice application that someone from the community actually built. So you don't need permission from me. You don't need permission from the team to begin to do great things. So I think this is a good application just to start. Someone is getting into the space, building out an application so we can have a larger ecosystem of applications. So this is in addition to NodeVault, we're already on Tritium's platform, the one that's going to be used that they're currently building out for loans, cryptocurrency based loans. You can use your assets to extend out to people to loan cryptocurrency, or go from crypto into fiat and receive a fiat loan, which I think is absolutely wonderful in building out this economy. Same thing as well in terms of SaveNode and using its AI-based machine learning mobile application to rebalance your portfolio. So if you have Bitcoin or you have LightPay coin and Logis coin and other few coins, it would rebalance your portfolio depending on which ones are actually performing well. It's an automatic feature. So you don't need permission in this space, guys. Just build. If you have a team or you just want to get some things started, just go out and build it. And if it's promising, launch. I received a note from a member of the community saying they built out this application. And then I did a post. And now we're getting some traction and people downloading using these applications. Okay, there's Scott. Now, question from Scott, and I think it was answered by a member in the community. When will LPC ATMs come out? That's in late 2019. Yes, so that is the case for the ATMs, but also for the point of sale devices. That's you're looking at December of this year. The desktop and mobile application for the point of sale device, that's December of this year. And I mentioned to you earlier about the if you already have a master node, if you have a master node for the point of sale device, you will be able to use your masternode public key. Funds will be sent to that public key, a very small amount for verification, so you can authenticate, so we know that you are the masternode owner. And at the same time, you will immediately have access to the functionality of the point of sale device for your mobile or your desktop. So if you're a small business owner and you own a masternode, it's the case you will immediately have access to that device. And it's the case you're no longer paying fees if you're using LightPay coin or Lotus coin, because it's in a position, you're in a position where you are a part of the network. You own the network. You don't have to depend on Visa. You don't have to depend on American Express or MasterCard for transactions. So you're a small business owner, or you could do just at this point peer-to-peer if you don't necessarily have a masternode. You can totally remove that third party. You don't have to use the Stripe or the PayPal or the credit card companies in order to process transactions within your business. Had a talk with a barbershop owner yesterday, day before yesterday. Ideal application to be able to use within his business. So that's ideal, being able to own the network. That's the goal of LPC and launching out those master nodes for the point of sale device. And it will be launched through our upcoming website that we'll be launching in the next couple of weeks. The interface will be through the website that we'll be launching in the next couple of weeks. No, we're not launching the POS next week, but the site through which it will be done will be launched in the next couple of weeks. That's the site for the managing entity here in the United States. It's the corporate entity, Exchange Inc. So that website will be launched. And first we'll actually launch some of the mobile wallet applications, and then the POS application, and then some of the functionality for monitoring the network when we're seeing the ATMs, and for Lotus Coin as well. So that's the website for the managing entity of LPC and LGS. And just to explain that framework one more time, because you have Bitcoin, Bitcoin is a decentralized, open application. It's peer-to-peer, permissionless, where anybody can join, but it's no one owns it. It's a decentralized organization of open source technology, and it's managed by Blockstream. Same thing when you look at LightPay coin, managed by Litecoin Foundation. You look at Cardano, IOHK. In our sense, it's Exchange, the managing entity for LightPay coin and Lotus coin. So we've oriented ourselves where there are people who don't like cryptocurrencies being centralized within an organization. How you see some organizations or some cryptocurrency projects that have done ICOs where there is a corporate entity in which the currency has been launched through an ICO, but it's the case, say a government entity say, hey, no, you're not doing what you're supposed to do, and now it shuts the corporate entity down. If it's the case that if God forbid something happens and Exchange is shut down for a particular reason, LPC and LGS will still exist because it is an open source decentralized entity where it's peer-to-peer, permissionless, uncensored. Just like the internet. When the internet first started, as background, it was designed to be a communication channel for the Department of Defense under the case of a nuclear attack. So if the infrastructure of the DoD was destroyed, they still could communicate on this open, decentralized, distributed environment. So now cryptocurrencies have evolved within this space after we've seen a period of immense centralization of entities. You're talking about the Googles of the world, the Amazons of the world, the Facebooks of the world, when you begin to look at banks, social institutions, even commerce, high amounts of centralization. So now we're moving towards decentralizing the entities in which the traditional entities where we've seen some evidence of erosion of trust, particularly as it relates to some of the banks and even in the case of the social entities like Facebook in using our data. So now we're having these decentralized organizations. And I think cryptocurrencies or cryptocurrency projects should be the same in the sense that they are decentralized, they're open, peer to peer, permissionless, uncensored. So, with that said, guys, I think there are a lot of great things happening in space. I'll be attending, just want to make one more note. I'll be attending the Smart Blockchain Conference. Let's see if I can get to that here. Yes, I'll be leaving for the Blockchain Smart Summit October the 20th, and it's a few days from now. It's in Bucaramanga, Colombia, which is a few miles from the border of Venezuela. At this point, I'm scheduled to talk about masternodes, what we've been doing in the space. And as just give you a little background, because it's so close to the border, they're having a an immigration, or I wouldn't necessarily say refugee, but they're having an immigration crisis where a lot of people from Venezuela are flooding into the country, and now they're moving into cities such as Bucaramanga to seek a better life because now they're experiencing triple digit inflation, so or quadruple digit in inflation. So it's at the point where they're in a position where they're with the hyperinflation in Venezuela. Bucaramanga is one of those cities that is experiencing the effects of hyperinflation in that country. We're looking to list on exchanges in South America as well to be able to introduce not only LGS but LPC to people who could use in their day-to-day transactions. So I think it's a great conference for us to get access, and Felipe is going to make that announcement in Central South America because he's relatively well known in that space, and we look to make some relationships and move forward there, guys. So that's all that I have. I'll take a quick pause um, to see if there are any more questions. At this point, Malta Blockchain Summit. I'll look into that. I think it was at Angel K. Oh yeah, I'll take a look into that conference. Wait, now I think to the top of my head, November the 2nd and the 3rd, we have a conference that's actually it's the blockchain. It's a blockchain summit that's in Guangzhou, China, in China. So we do have a point of contact in China, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to attend that conference. But I'll be in China on the 2nd and the 3rd. So that Malta Blockchain Summit, we may have to miss out on that one. So I'll take a quick pause, guys, to see if there are any questions. But I think that pretty much wraps it up, except for the one thing that I did want to mention that was based on our interactions over this past week. And I mentioned to you earlier that just like with Bitcoin, and a lot of transactions are happening OTC or over the counter, where phone calls are being made and transactions are being done as it relates to LPC. At LGS, we have received phone calls where individuals wanting to do $1 million transactions with LPC and LGS. Now, it's the case that we have been approached by an entity. I can't tell you who that entity is, and they want to enter into a partnership with us because of the advances that we have made in this space. I think with the transparency that we've had, the relationships that we've built, that's attractive to them. I cannot tell you who it is now. There are members of our community. They have received the communications because immediately once I disclose it to them, and with, like, for instance, the general counsel that we have within LPC, they ask questions and I'm honest and I tell everything up front, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the council is made up of members who've been here from the beginning. They're well trusted by the community. It's the case on the council. They ask the very tough questions and they immediately want to know who it is, what are the details. So now it's at the point as communications are going back and forth from this entity. It's a very large technology company. I'll just say that, who they're in a position now where they want to enter into a partnership with us. They made some recommendations for the things that we must do to officially enter into that partnership to begin to move into some engagements with them. So once again, I'm going to hold this close to the chest. I told the guys on the council, please hold it close to the chest because I don't want another UCF. For instance, when I mentioned that, hey, we're in a partnership with UCF, immediately I got a lot of phone calls. I got a lot of messages saying, I don't believe in the partnership. Tell us more about it. Now we had individuals going out to the university trying to find out, is the partnership real? Making calls to the computer science department to find out if it's real. And it took almost 2 to 3 weeks for that press release to come out from the university to say, yes, it's real. We had to get them to do the tweet. So it's coming from the University of Central Florida. So you have a tweet coming from an official channel, a press release entered out, interactions that have been made with the university over and over again, where we've gone on campus, interacted with the psychology department, we've interacted with the computer science, engineering, and business school collaboration in building out their fintech program. So it's the case that we've had these interactions, and because I mentioned it so early, and it takes the university, it's a bureaucracy. It takes time to get out press releases. It takes time to get frameworks and legal paperwork squared away, read, and then subsequently disseminated where we could do a press release. But I'll let you know now. It's one of somewhat unexpected, but yet it's the case kind of not unexpected considering what we're doing in this space. So in the coming weeks, we'll be in a position to make a formal announcement, and that formal announcement will tell about all the things that we're doing with that partner. Um, Everything from education, client engagements, building out joint technologies, and beginning to showcase what we can do in our space. And this is on track in terms of looking at our roadmap. When it says partnerships, it's a big check. I thought UCF was really big, being the largest R&D university in the United States. But it's the case, this organization really puts us over the top. So I'm really excited. We have about 5 more minutes. I'm going to take a quick pause to see if there are any questions. How can I help? Great news. I can meet you there. Great update. Safe travels. It looks like there are no questions, guys. But once again, I strongly encourage you. We are in great times. The evidence from a technical perspective, looking at the technical analysis of the cryptocurrency industry in general, it looks like we're entering into an accumulation phase, looking to break out of that bear market structure that we've been in since really like January, February, and we're moving out of that, moving into the accumulation and bear phase. There's a lot of strong fundamentals being put in place in terms of institutions getting in, building out infrastructure to support the large institutions, the trading houses, the hedge funds, the family offices. At the same time, we're presenting at a lot of conferences. We're making progress on our roadmap. We're having strong industry partners in not only in tech, but also in content technology with some of the partnerships we have right now with UCF, with Lumina in place as well, and the pilot partners who've already signed up in countries here in the US and also within South Africa. All of this is beginning to come together slowly but surely, and it's an exciting time. And once again, there are things that are in the works. I'm absolutely excited. We're communicating on a regular basis, periodically, with this new partner that's getting ready to come on board with us. And I don't. I'm just gonna pause and just say it's a great time to be in this space, guys. Say what you like, but this is a great time to be in this space. I'll see if there are any questions. Yes, we're going to be in China in November. So November the 2nd and the 3rd, and I'll post that a little later within the channel. It's a great time to be in this space. So this video will be up, and like I said, it's great to be in LPC and LGS. Any questions, comments, concerns, hit me up in the DM, or hit me up in the chat on Twitter, LinkedIn, or even on Discord, and then we'll take it from there. Hey guys, have a safe week. God bless, and I'll see you on the other side once I come back from Columbia. See ya.